And welcome back to the Daily Wrap. So we couldn't get Rick Unger in the previous segment due to some technical difficulties, but we will try again tomorrow. One more reason to tune back in. Speaking of technology, the Obama administration is ready to get into the internet game. No, not with the new website, because that worked out so well, but to regulate the whole damn thing. The FCC will vote tomorrow on new rules pertaining to net neutrality. The changes would allow the FCC to regulate the internet like a public utility and would require equal access to all online content. The proposed rule will also allow the FCC to review and likely punish non-neutral practices that may harm consumers or edge providers. Republicans in Congress have asked to have the vote postponed so the topic can be discussed in congressional hearings. That kind of makes sense. Not only did the FCC decline, how's that for transparency, but the FCC chairman, Tom Wheeler, has refused to appear before the House Oversight Committee. Dave Briggs is the first move by the federal government to regulate the internet. Don't know about you, but this gives me the creeps.
Well, it does give me the creeps, but it also confuses me, because if you walk, I mean, this is a largely media-driven story. You walk down, this is one of the most educated cities in the United States. Walk down the street, talk to 1,000 people, you might get a dozen that know what net neutrality is or how that impacts them. So I think the coverage here doesn't exactly justify the means. But in terms of the transparency, therein lies the problem. No one knows what they're voting on. No one knows what we're even talking about. And so what exactly is this new rule going to do? Well, on the surface, it sounds good. It's actually going to help the average consumer, net neutrality, on the surface of it. But it starts to sound a lot like Nancy Pelosi's famous quote with healthcare, where if you pass the bill, then we'll find out what's in it. And yes, that was blown out of proportion in terms of the context of it, but it sounds a lot like that in terms of, we don't know what the heck is in this bill, yet we're going to vote on it and cram it down people's throats. And how many industries are helped by more government regulation? We heard about this with healthcare, that it was going to help. Didn't help so far. So look, let's bring this down to the open. Let's bring it out to the public. Let's let everyone know what the heck is going on before we vote on this.
Before you respond, I want, Dave makes a very good point. All right, and you're always very prepared. You have your computer there. I know when you come in, your notes are meticulous. You're a very intelligent person anyway. What is net neutrality?
It's about keeping a free and open internet. See, what you may not realize is that
it's not open right now?
We want to keep it that way.
Right.
It's open right now, but Verizon, AT&T, Comcast have spent $42 million already lobbying to take control of the internet. Profits, big corporations taking away our access, our free access, our ability to create content.
How are they taking away our access?
But by buying it up and by charging exorbitant amounts for profits. It would take away.
Right. I mean, I think this is what's really interesting.
No.
Anyway,
let me finish.
Go ahead.
It's the best dressed
So what you may not know is that Tom Wheeler was a former lobbyist for the big telecom.
Yes, he was.
So he's talking outside both sides of his mouth. That's why he doesn't want the congressional hearings. But let me say, there are grassroots groups that have been calling on Barack Obama to do this for a long time. So, you know, there are a lot of people. There was an unprecedented 4 million comments, unprecedented 4 million comments submitted to the FCC about this. 99% of them were in favor of net neutrality.
Before you
we want to keep it free.
Before you answer.
Notice you didn't press like I come in prepared with a screen because we know who I am.
You're
Go
all
ahead.
prepared.
Go.
I'm just saying. Look. Here's what I do notice at home, all right, just to bring this down to a very human level, that whenever I try to watch something on Netflix, halfway through, every time, for whatever reason, suddenly my screen, because I'm on a smart TV, so I'm going through the internet, and it just doesn't seem like Netflix has the juice that my video on demand, when I get a movie, does.
Correct.
And I just get the feeling there's something evil going on.
So in some ways, that evil is meant to be addressed by this law, but I think people are fighting about this. It's a proxy fight. Some people are creeped out by big government, so they don't want it passed. Some people are creeped out by too many profits, so they want it done. The truth of the matter is, what net neutrality really treats, would treat it like a phone call, like a common carrier. But the internet isn't a phone call. When you make a phone call, point A through point B directly to point C. The internet has so many on-ramps and twists and turns. It seems to me this should be phased in very slowly so that two things happen. In the short term, you would have a better user experience. But over time, we'd have to have a lot more conversation about what regulating those businesses is. Because just being afraid they'll make too much money is a bad reason to shut down an industry.
That's not the only reason. I mean, we want to be able, I mean, think about that. The internet was a product of the grassroots. I mean, it was a frontier where people were able to just start putting their thoughts, their organizations,
Adult
you know.
All of
movies.
this beg for public, open hearings and transparency, the word you used.
Yeah, it
Rorschach
absolutely
test.
does.
I mean,
Talk to the former lobbyist of Big Telecom.
Okay.
He's the one standing in the way.
Well, the freedom now goes over to me because we have to go to commercial. One little problem with your argument, by the way, you said when somebody makes a phone call, nobody makes phone calls anymore. Everybody's texting.
I'm old, what
What's
can I tell
that?
you?
What's
Okay,
a phone?
anyway, coming up next, it's potluck time. This is the Daily Wrap, and it's only on Newsmax TV from a not-so-chilly New York City.